So glad you could be with me today. My name is Ed. In the previous video, I had mentioned in the introduction that it's important to develop a certain framework in your mind in which you're going through the process of your sketch project as though it is second nature. I've entitled this session Drawing Portraits because that's mainly where my focus and fun tends to be in sketching and drawing, and there are several components I'll try to break down very briefly in this session, which will help to understand the very beginning process towards the end. As you can probably tell, I have spared no expense in pointing out the various parts of the components towards drawing a portrait. And that's probably for a reason. I could have spent a lot of time putting that on a PowerPoint perspective, but honestly, I just wanted to keep it all close by at hand in my sketchbook as a point of reference, easy to get to for you and for me. Let's begin. The first part of what we do is called framing. Framing is, well, think of it of a frame. Putting your completed project in a frame as though essentially this is how you want your project to turn out. And if you can get that concept in your mind, it helps to break down the rest of these components. The second part is composing the image of the objects in your drawing, which includes the overall perspective of perhaps where you want to put the head, which angle to turn the head, the lighting, and so forth. The perspective of what you're attempting to do will also determine the rest of the drawing in its composition, and it will help you to focus on getting all the right parts of the face in the correct perspective. And this is one of the make or break points within the drawing, of which so many artists get either frustrated or have to make corrections along their project as they progress. Having the right perspective is important, and making sure that all the pieces of that perspective are in the right place will help determine the success of your portrait. The third item I have there is about illustration. And a lot of artists start off primarily as illustration, cartooning. There's a lot of lines in an illustration of what separates illustration from realism is lines and shadowing. And I will be attempting to move us from the tones of illustration, cartooning, and some other images as opposed to realism, photorealism, and hyperrealism. Now, dealing with materials is really not all that complicated. I mean, basically, you start off with a pencil and a blank sheet of paper, and you just keep adding materials from there. Pencils, erasers, brushes, various kinds of pencils, colored pencils are all worthy within their own videos. These are the tools of the trade, and it's one big reason why I prefer sketching over painting or other forms of art, because it really doesn't take that much, at least of an investment, to get started. But without a doubt, once you start using some of these materials, you get used to buying better quality to help you improve in your sketch projects. And we'll take a look as to whether or not a drawing even needs background, or whether or not the background, if used, will be focused or out of focus, whether there'll be color, a need for maybe gray shading, or maybe to start your project with black paper to accentuate maybe some lighter tones within your drawing. Or maybe you need to create more of a melancholy mood that a background helps to illustrate. When you have finished the bulk of your drawing, or sometimes even make layers upon layers of charcoal, graphite, or pastel, you can overspray these with fixative, and that becomes important as you begin to close out on various portions of your drawing. And it's a nice way to keep from messing up or smudging your drawing as you go along. And yes, believe it or not, the signature of all things is worthy of some discussion because of who and what it represents and where it needs to be placed if a signature is needed at all. In the next video, I'll continue with framing, moving more towards the composition, composing what your sketch will look like and how it fits into the frame. Good luck and best of skills to you all until we talk again.